everyone. Welcome to Career Lab Wednesday. We are going live here on YouTube and on LinkedIn Live. I am your host, George Miller, and I am here to support you in your career, to help you develop, especially around ways of leadership and emotional intelligence. And if you've joined in before, you know that you are welcome to ask questions in a variety of ways. If this is your first time, I invite you to type your questions into the comment section or to jump in directly here on Zoom. I'll be sharing about a topic today on emotional intelligence and personality styles, but I want you to know that you can ask any question at any time. So it doesn't have to be on topic. I enjoy the questions that you get. They give me some guidance and they are like fuel for the engine of this thing that helps with engagement. So I appreciate your questions. And of course, you're welcome to join in on Zoom as well. So I'll give another recap on that in a moment. But as people are joining in, as we're getting live here, I want to share with you that there's a few ways that you can engage with me. I love it, of course, when you jump in directly on Zoom, when you type your questions into the comments section. And if you're doing that, let me know if I'm not on track with you. If I'm going in a direction that isn't helping, let me know and I will readjust. And you can also set up a time to meet with me one-to-one. I will connect with you. Sometimes I can help give you a little direction or affirm what you're already thinking and working on. And sometimes people have shared that that's the little nudge they needed to do something really cool in their career. So we can talk one-to-one. You can set up a time with me. We'll connect for 15 to 20 minutes. And if a coaching relationship is something that develops out of that, that's a possibility too, if you are looking for more support than just a quick conversation. But as we're up and live now, I'm going to start sharing about what we have on the agenda today. So if you are working or if you are in the process of getting a job, if you are managing a team, if you are entry level, if you anywhere in your career, your communication skills are one of the most important things. So of course there's the technical stuff, the stuff you went to school for, the stuff you've gotten perhaps a degree in, the technical training, perhaps you have certifications. That's great. Of course, you need that. But along the way, it's relationships and the connections that you have that really drive things forward. And over the course of your career, the most important thing is going to end up being your emotional intelligence. Another way of saying that is your ability to communicate. And so you might find yourself in some meetings where you're not quite sure why, all of the reasons why you're there. You might not be sure, if you have an agenda, or if you ask questions, if that's going to be interrupting, or if that's going to bother anybody. You might have a team and they've got all these different personality styles, and some people you like more than others, or some people you connect with more than others. And if you are able to shift a little bit in yourself, how you feel in meetings and one-to-ones, if you're able to shift that a little bit, I guess not, you're not going to change how you feel, but how to be more present with whatever it is that you are feeling, such that you can take more control of how you respond. that's going to make a really big difference in your life overall. So, if you've been on here before, or if you've seen the invite to today's event, you probably know that I like to go into ice water, and that part of the practice of this is to be with fear, is to be with discomfort, and practicing that. And I take that into my life, into my interactions with other human beings. It's like, whoa, I know that my body can sustain itself, can survive, um, an environment that's fairly hostile to it, cold water, and what is terrifying then shifts and turns into joy and excitement and aliveness. Okay, cool. So that's something that my body can do again and again and again. And now, what's a bigger project, and I think way more challenging than going into ice water, is shifting my relationship with my feelings while being with people. Like that's actually a harder thing. And so again, if I'm talking to a personality style who is different than me, no, that's a little outside of my comfort zone. I'm now, if I'm going to be as effective as I want to be with them, it's likely going to require that I am with more of my fears, with more of my discomforts, instead of acting in a way to get away from what I'm feeling. So it could be this happens. Oh, I just thinking of a meeting I had last night where I noticed that I wanted to get out of the meeting. I was feeling afraid about the subject of what we were talking about, and I'm having anxiety. And so there's a way I just want to rush through it because I just want to get over it. Yet I know that this is a very helpful meeting for me. I know that I'm getting a lot of great information, and that I want to take advantage of the time I'm with this person as much as I possibly can. And so I stay with the discomfort, and I notice, like, oh, isn't that interesting? I want to get out of this. Huh. Wow. Well, what are my anxieties about? That I want, actually, I have a lot of anxieties in what we're talking about. We're planning for something. And that anxiety that I'm now allowing myself to be present with, it's actually giving me an insight. I got another question I have to ask. Oh, yeah, I have a concern, and this person can help me with that concern. And geez, I'm glad I'm asking now instead of later. But it required me to be more present with the fear. Instead of trying to get away, I would have ended the conversation sooner. And as so everybody has their own kinds of ways of being with discomfort. But the goal is for you to be increasingly conscious while being in challenging environments and in relationships that might be a little uncomfortable. I think of a client who took him a few months to really get comfortable speaking up in meetings. The first time they would go in and they would just kind of sit through the meeting and kind of find themselves zoning out and being a little irritated. And then when they realized, oh, I'm afraid to ask a question. Huh. Well, here I am kind of getting annoyed with the meeting, but I'm not really engaging in the meeting as much as I could be. Huh. Okay. Well, that means that I'm going to take a risk and I'm going to ask a question. And so they made a point of asking one question in every meeting. As they did that, They got more comfortable with it. They started asking more questions, and soon people are like engaging with them in new ways, and people are giving them more information and saying, hey, would you share this with so and so? And it's like, wow, all of a sudden they are now being seen as a leader in that group. And all they did was it, well, not all they did, but the hard part was asking the uncomfortable question. So that's a little bit there. As we're rolling here, I want to remind everybody who's listening in that I invite you to join in here. You can join in directly on the Zoom link, or if you don't want to do that, you're welcome to ask questions in the comments section. Go ahead and type your questions into the comment section, and we'll do our best to get those questions and have them answered. And if I'm going off track, if you ask something about your resume, interviewing, managing a team, or even just what is your purpose in career, what you're finding that you're not having fun, you're finding that you're kind of lost, anything like that, go ahead and type your questions into the comment section, and I will do my best to answer them. So as we're looking at personality styles, that's an aspect of emotional intelligence and social intelligence, is understanding myself, understanding the way that I experience the world. So I might be somebody who is more sensitive and worried about how people feel, and if people are included, things are belonging, that and that people are being affirmed. That's one kind of personality, really can be the glue that holds a team together. And then another kind really likes to have all the data, get the details, and know exactly what to do, get everything organized. And then another kind really likes to get results, doesn't want to spend as much time on things, and isn't the social feeling of the group is kind of like, well, who cares? We're here to get something done. And then there's also the ones who are excited about possibilities and who want to do cool things. And they're more of the social career. They might not be as quite as sensitive to the feelings and awareness of others, but they are more expressive, and they are kind of more in touch with the feeling side of things, and they have a sense of they want to do things that are exciting. They're not just there to get the job done. It's like they want kind of more than that. They want to see what could be done. And all of these styles are incredibly important. Every human is a little different, and our differences help us in the long run. Our differences, somebody can do something better than I can in a regard. And so my ability to partner with other people is going to be really important. And so I'm better able to partner with people the more that I can style shift. Welcome, Larry. Good to have you. Let me know if you have any questions. Just go ahead and come off mute and ask me anytime.
All right, shall do.
Cool. And so as you are looking at the people in your life, being able to identify what other kinds of styles you're interacting with can help you shift a little bit, can help you speak more of their language. It's going to be uncomfortable. I got one client right now who is quite an analyzer type, just wants to get the results and cares a whole lot about the data. And it said, I realize that I often rub people the wrong way. I get that kind of feedback from my boss that people on my team while they understand that there's a job to do and that kind of thing, they don't feel that warmly towards me. And and it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, why does that matter? And the quick answer is, well, it matters because that's your team. And if it matters to them, I mean, yeah, their job's to make you happy, their job's to support you, absolutely. But if you can shift something a little bit that's going to get better results from them, why not try it out? So I actually gave this person an assignment to be Tigger, like Tigger from Winnie the Pooh, to like be a little more excited, to when starting meetings, to like share something fun, and to literally just turn the sides of their mouth up a little more, especially when they know they're talking to a cooperator or an energizer. And so it's like, yeah, the person who comes in to the meeting with a brightly colored tie or is wearing something kind of funky, a little flashy, like, you know, if you acknowledge that, if you say, like me, I'm an energizer, so I have these bluish glasses because I like the lake and I like blue, and I wear them on purpose. And if somebody says, "Ooh, I like your glasses," like right there, I'm already now open, available to whatever they're going to say next. And so I gave them the assignment to be more upbeat and see what happens. And they noticed all of their resistance. Um, oh, that's stupid, and it's just going to take more time. It's draining. And I was like, okay, well, try it out and see what happens. Well, come to find out, they are energized by it, and their team is more productive, they communication is clearer, and they're like, wait a minute, by me coming in with a more upbeat energy, even though I'm like, oh, that's not me, that's not my personality, when I do that, things get done faster. I actually get the results that I want. And so, well, since that's what I care about, I'm going to do it that way. I'm going to keep getting these results. But it required them to be with that discomfort, to do something a little differently. And so this is happening like all the time with people. Um, you know, your families, your friends, and of course your coworkers. So I as I've shared about this, I invite you all to think about somebody that you are challenged with. And if challenged too strong of a word, just somebody where it's like, you know, that you could be more productive together. You could be more effective. And I invite you to just think of that person. Maybe it's at work, maybe it's at home, maybe it's with a friend, and somebody where it's like you just notice that you think it could be more productive, more effective. There could be more understanding. And be with any of the anxieties that kind of come up as you're thinking about them. Be with any of the fears, like I think they're not going to understand what I'm saying. And as you're picturing them, then I want you to think about what you could do a little differently. How could you mirror them? If they speak really fast, what would it be like for you to speak a little faster? If they speak slower, what would it be like to lean into that and take more breaths when you're engaging with them? Cool. So as we just went through that little meditation and we're kind of coming out of that, we're coming up on we're at 20 minutes now, and I want to check in with everybody who's listening in and see if you've got any questions for me. And again, you don't have to stay on topic. It doesn't have to be about personality styles. But if there's something on your heart, what is it that you would like some support, some direction with? Go ahead and type into the chat or come off mute and let me know. There's a good chance I will tie it back to emotional intelligence, given that's my expertise. But what is it? Whether it's your job search, resumes, managing a team, or just looking at what it is that you want to do. What I I've had plenty of people who have reached out to me over the years and said, I'm thinking of transitioning out of this company. There's nothing wrong with it. I think that there's more for me. And as we look at that together, a surprising amount of people have ended up saying, you know what? I just didn't see what was possible for me here. I wasn't really making sense of the landscape. And then other people got clearer and said, you know what? Yeah, I'm at a limit here. And there are aspects of myself I want to develop, and that's not going to happen here. So, any questions that you have around your career, I invite you to type them into the comment section, or you can just come off mute and share. And as I'm allowing some space here, I also want to say that there's a personality assessment that is on my website, no cost. I don't even make you, I guess you have to give an email so we can send you the results, but it's not like an automated kind of email thing. Go ahead and check that out. It takes about 10 minutes to do the assessment, and then there's a video training on it as well. And that is something that I have had work teams use. So when I'm going into work with a team, I will often send them this link, and everybody gets to take the assessment. And even before I get there, then they've got some language, a different way of engaging and looking at themselves. So they can start to understand, yeah, when I'm in this meeting, when we're in our meetings together, the analyzer just keeps giving lots and lots of information. And sometimes we want the analyzer to just bottom line it and say, here's the 3 most important things. And if you need more information, I'm happy to give it to you. And then this person's always like wanting to bring in exciting ideas, and okay, that makes sense. And now I can understand better how to support them in this. And I can say, okay, great, yeah, like your ideas, like that you're getting a lot of ideas, but we're going to need to get some security about trying them out. So, okay, Energizer, Analyzer, you two connect, and they will help you come up with a plan for it, and we can move forward with a way where we can actually track things, like that kind of thing. So it's helpful to understand what your skills and what your weaknesses are. So that assessment, great. Yeah. You go ahead and take it. You can take it right now. And we'll share the results with you. We have to compile your scores and then send it back to you. So go ahead and take a look at that. And now, as we're moving along here, I want to lean into this a little more. about the importance of being with discomfort. And I want to bring in fear. Like, why is it that I like to use the word fear instead of anxiety, concern, etc.? Now, of course, you're going to have to translate for whatever your environment is, but I like to use the word fear because there's a lot of stigma around emotions, and I want to demystify stuff. Like, I want to make it less of a big deal. And fears are so common and essential for life that I want to be direct about it. And I want to own it more. I want to be more of an authority. So I like to use fear, hurt, anger, sadness, and joy, these core emotions, because the more comfortable I get with saying, yeah, I was afraid of that. Yeah, I felt hurt about that. The more comfortable I am with that, the more levity I have, the more I'm not defending. And so I integrate these words into my language so that I am increasingly comfortable with it. The same way that I do with ice water. I go into ice water pretty much every day. And every day it's like, whoa, it's scary. And like, okay, oh yeah, now I'm there with it. Oh, cool. And so it's my own little trick, my own little like hack at increasing emotional intelligence faster, is by choosing to use these words. And so, saying, oh yeah, I'm afraid of that. Doesn't mean I'm not going to do it. Doesn't It's not an excuse. But I can own that. And another reason too is that the research on this is that as we name our feelings, we actually soothe ourselves. It's actually a nourishing process. It's a strengthening process. And so that it's just like I'm thinking about when all the physical therapy I've been doing. And, there's one way of just laying and somebody's manipulating the muscles and ligaments and things. And there's times where that's beneficial, but it's also, and oftentimes an increased um, help and development is to have me engaged with the movement while they're manipulating the ligaments. So it's like I'm retraining my movement. And so that's how I see it with using the feeling words. It's like I'm retraining myself to be more in touch with my feelings, and then more aware, more alert of the feelings of other people. And that makes a huge difference. At the start of a meeting, at the start of a conversation, if somebody is more available, then the whole thing's going to go better. The whole conversation is going to happen. It is going to move with more grace. And I'll take it back to the research of Daniel Goldman. When this was back in the days when the internet was first happening. Oh my God, like so in the 90s. And global corporations realized that they might be able to do more project work through email, and that they didn't have to fly everybody around as much, and that they would be able to do new things. They could take on new projects at new levels that just weren't able to happen the same way. So as they tested it out, well, quick story is it failed. I mean, they connected people and said, okay, here's the project, go get it done. And so emails started arriving, and all these trained people who knew what the job was, knew how to do it. This was not they're not new hires. They picked people who knew what they were doing, and they failed. And they're like, how is this possible? So 12 years of research with Daniel Goleman later, what they found is that we make decisions based on emotions. And it's like, we all know that, but we didn't understand the implications of it. And so if I get an email in my inbox and I don't have an emotional response to it, then my only emotional response is fear. If I don't have an idea of who I'm talking to, if I don't have a face or some more context, even if I know what the job is, even if it's something I've done before, but if I don't know who's on the other end of that, the immediate response is fear and tends to be a frozenness, like I don't know what to do. So people started procrastinating, delaying things, doing things that did not handle what needed to be handled, and it just didn't work. So they found that the best way to run one of these projects when people were not going to be interfacing was to have all the key leaders meet up for the weekend in Iceland. And why Iceland? Because if you've got people flying from Japan, San Francisco, Colombia, whatever, like Iceland happens to be kind of a central spot. So if everybody was just flying to New York, then the people who had to fly farther would be irritated and resentful the whole time, and that negatively impacted the project over the years. So that's one reason why Iceland became more popular. So they found that the most important thing was to have people meet in person and to not talk about business. So they would even bring families, and they would have the leadership team meet up, not talk about business, just get to know each other, get to know each other's families, get to know each other's hobbies. So that over the next year, then, when they get an email from whoever, they now have an emotional response. They they have a broader emotional response. It's not just, oh shoot, I don't know what to do. It's, oh, that's that person. Oh yeah, I care about, I want to make sure that that person's happy. I want to, like, and that's the motivation. And so this is such a huge deal, and we're not that trained in making these kinds of connections and in really establishing relationships. And it makes sense when you think about it. It's like, duh, like the more that I connect with somebody and get to know them, like, yeah, the more they're going to be open and warm towards me, and we're going to work together better. Like it's such common sense, but we've often overlooked it. So that's a big story about it. But I'm looking at, to break this down into moment to moment interactions, why personality tools can be so helpful. So this one, the care profile that we're looking at, it was designed for hairstylists so they could very quickly assess who's sitting in their chair, make more meaningful contact with them. This kind of assessment, I mean, is used in lots of organizations, and there's the Hogan, there's DISC, they're all great. This one is super easy to use, it's bottom line, and the main point of it is that you are able to identify other styles and able to just have a few ways that you can shift your way of engaging to help open the door for you. So that's more about leaning into discomfort, especially around personality styles. We are at 12:35 Central Time, and I'm going to make one more invite to get some questions. and you can type your questions into the comment section. Again, you don't have to ask questions about this topic. You can ask anything on your heart, anything about interviewing, resumes, leadership development, purpose in your career, career satisfaction. Any question that's on your heart, go ahead and type it into the comment section, and I will take a look at it. And again, if you are wanting to remain anonymous and or you don't have a question on your mind right at the moment, you're welcome to set up a time to meet with me one-to-one. You can set up a time on my calendar, and I'm often able to help in a few minutes. And sometimes it's a bigger project, and we can discuss what a coaching relationship might look like. So go ahead, set up a time. And okay, got it. So I'm getting some questions coming in here. A lot of fear in the job search arena. Yeah, no kidding. So, when I'm looking for a job is very scary, because I'm at the whim of so many things. Like, I need a job, and at the same time, I need to, if I'm just going in trying to get a job and just trying to convince people that I'm a good fit, that doesn't work. It doesn't. It just maybe it can get you in the door sometimes, but then the job doesn't seem to work out as well. So what we actually want to do is, when I have a lot of fear in a job search, is I want to um, get more clarity about the fears that I have. So of course I've got a fear of scarcity, about, I need money, like I need meaningful income. I need a place in society. I need a place in my community. I need, so those are fears to pay attention to understand, like, yep, that's going on. But then there's other fears. There's fears that are like, is this the right fit for me? Is this a company that I want to be in? Or is this a churn and burn place? Or is this a place where they are going to help me develop? Or is it a place where I'm more on my own? And so we want to pay attention to those, I'll say, kind of finer fears in the whole process, because those fears are valuable. They give us good data about the company and about what the relationship is going to be like. And it starts to get you out of your head, starts to get you out of being frozen. When I can say, one of my fears about this company is that they may not have a good onboarding system, and learning how to do whatever it is that they need done is going to be largely up to me. And I want to make sure that if that's the case, that I'm doing the right thing, that I'm on track. So I'm going to ask that in the interview. I'm going to say, okay, what's the onboard process like? What, and right there now, instead of the fears being something that have me frozen and I'm just trying to look good and prove myself, I'm actually using that to ask a question, to initiate a meaningful conversation with the person who's interviewing me, or with somebody perhaps at that company. And so if I've got a lot of fears around my job search, again, it helps to be with the fear and to let the fear inform me. And then I could say, oh man, this happens a lot. A lot of people then spend a lot of their time and energy responding to job ads and being afraid. Oh no, is my resume good enough? Did I get the right keywords in there? That kind of thing. And at a certain point, that is not really helpful anymore. At a certain point, a resume is only going to be what a resume is, and so many places don't even look at them. So, okay, so it, now that I'm kind of paying attention to that fear more, I'm afraid that my resume just responding to job ads isn't doing the trick. That's a healthy fear. To be conscious of that and say, huh, that might be true. Wow, well, if that's true, what's the next thing I'm afraid of? Well, if that's true, then that means that I'm going to have to call more people. I'm going to have to use my network more. I'm going to have to go, um, to different events perhaps to get conversations and to get interactions with people. And that yeah, you know what, that is more uncomfortable than responding to job ads. But that is probably the thing I have to do, and I feel afraid about that. Okay, well, great. So now what about that am I afraid of? You know what, I don't have a job, and I am showing up to a place or making a call, and it's like a constant reminder. I'm constantly confronting that I don't have the job that I want. Well, that makes sense. That is a valid fear. And again, okay, but now I'm using that fear to move me towards what I want. It's a guide, and it requires that I lean into it. So I'm now, okay, got it. I'm going to choose to see fear differently. I'm going to see fear as the doorway to aliveness, the doorway to really being present on this earth. Okay, now that I'm shifting my relationship with fear, and I've got some of these conversations coming up. I've got a phone meeting. I've got a networking event next week. Okay, these are now ways that I'm seeing these fears as meaningful ways of engaging in my life. And I used to see these things as more of indictments. Like I would like, oh yeah, I'm going to this networking event and I don't have a job and it's not where I want to be. And that means I'm a piece of crap. Like that happens so quick. Our unconscious mind's real sneaky and messed up sometimes. But when I start to shift my relationship with my fear, and the fact that I am feeling afraid isn't an indictment of me, isn't saying there's something wrong with me. It makes sense. It makes sense that I'm having these anxieties. That can really start to shift things. So let me know if that's helpful. Am I on track there with the fear of a job search, in addressing some of those fears? So let me know if I'm on track there, and if there's another direction that you'd want me to go. So I really appreciate that, because like that is having the job of getting a job is really a challenge. um I think of, like, being a teenager and being horny, and horniness driving everybody away from me. So it's like, when I'm wanting a job, and it's like I have that need, and that can drive people away. Like that is that can happen, and the way that happens is with the biggest mistake that people make is talking too much, is you know trying to tell everybody how good I am, and how I have the experience, and how I think this would be a fit, and da da da. Like that does not work. That is essentially me attempting to avoid my fear. It's trying to puff myself up, and a little bit of that's okay. It it takes a little bit of you know a little bit of speaking into the unknown, but that's the thing, it's just a little bit. And so what's important to develop is being with the fear and asking more questions and allowing more space. And one of the things that can be really helpful in a job search and in networking is to reach out to people who work at the company that you're interested in. So you make a list of the companies that you are interested in, your targets, and then you see if you know anybody who's working there. If you do, great. Reach out to them and say, hey, I'm interested in this company. Would love to hear your experience working there. And right there, like they know you're in a job search. And they are going to, if they respond, they're going to be grateful for the opportunity to talk about themselves and to talk about what's going on for them. And I'll say this. I mean, this does not happen every time, but a really cool thing happened with this, where one of my clients reached out to somebody they had gone to school with. They were in grad school with, like, I don't know, at least 15 years ago, and they saw that they're working at a company they're interested in, and they messaged them on LinkedIn and said, I see you work at da da da. I'm interested in that company. I'd love to connect with you and hear what it's like. That person reached out to them and said, great, yes, let's talk. In their first conversation, they said, I think you would be a great fit here. And they're like, really? Why do you think I'd be a great fit here? Well, remember that project we worked on in grad school? I really liked how you approached it this way and the way that you engaged with the team and da 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 da. And I think you'd be a great fit here. I hope you're interested. They're like, actually, yeah, I am interested. So now that's a, it's a win. That's a great story. The other part of that is they reached out to like 50 to 100 other people on LinkedIn in that kind of a way, and they only heard back from like, two people, and that was one of the people they heard back from. So, when you're in a job search like this, you are going to experience a ton of rejection. It's just gonna happen. And that the way that I look at rejection is, well, I mean, I say this right now as I'm preaching about this on a webinar. My wife would tell you I don't always look at rejection this way, but my higher self, what I aim to do is to look at rejection as an opportunity to be with hurt, is an opportunity for me to develop my relationship with my hurt. It's going to happen. And I don't like feeling hurt. I don't like feeling afraid. But if I acknowledge that it's just part of the landscape of life, then I can say, rejection. Yeah, every time I send out a message and I don't get a response, that's an opportunity for me to be with hurt and to develop that muscle of being present with that. And that's gonna help me in the long run. Cool. Another way of saying it, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So being with the hurt, knowing that while you're reaching out, being with the fear will help you make more meaningful contact. And so just like that, then, in that interaction where my client's former classmate is like, hey, um, I think this might be a good fit for you. Then they paid attention to their fear of like, well, hold on a minute. I mean, I literally haven't talked to this person for 15 years, and they're really eager to get me in there. I mean, that might be great, but let me pay attention to these fears. Why are they so eager? What's going on in that company? What would my job really look like? And see, notice now how they're using their fear. they didn't get all horny real quick. Well, they did, and then they took a step back and got more critical about it. I was like, okay, what's really going on in that company? And so then when they go into the interview and they're making the introductions, they're asking better questions instead of them trying to just say like, "Oh yeah, I'm a great fit. I'd be really good at it." They're like, "Oh yeah, I'm definitely interested in this." Um, and it looks like this department is that the position you would be interested in me filling is in this department, and um, I'm curious about what's going on there and what my role would look like. And right there now, they're asking better questions. There and the other people, then the people interviewing them are not turned off. It's like, oh yeah, this person's really curious about us. This person really wants to know what's going on. This person's asking helpful questions. And that's another way to use your fear. So good to hear I'm on track with this. Now we're coming up to the end of our time today. So I want to say to everybody who's listening in, again, if you've got a question, throw it into the comment section. If I don't address it this week, I'll bring it into next week. And go ahead and type anything in. And again, if you don't have a question on mine now, or if you want to set up a time to talk with me, um, book a 15-minute call. We'll spend 15-20 minutes together, and I'll see how I can help you and see if a coaching relationship is a good fit. And if you are looking for kind of ongoing support too, but in a more distant way, you can always follow me on YouTube, my YouTube channel. That's where I post this stuff. On Instagram, if you just want to be entertained with my ice water adventures. And you're welcome to join in again, and think of the questions that you have, think of the support that you need, and I invite you to share next week. And that's a great reminder that next week I've got a increasingly busy schedule coming up. So I next week I'm actually going to be doing Career Lab, this meeting on Tuesday. So that's a little bit of a shift. I've usually been doing this on Wednesdays, but I'm going to need to start shifting this around a little bit, sometimes on Tuesdays, maybe even sometimes on Mondays. So thank you everybody for joining in today. Thank you for the input. Fear is a part of life, and when I friend my fear, then it becomes a guide. And I think that reframe is a really big deal. Easier said than done. I fail at friending my fear like more times than I succeed at it. Um, just to I want to like level set. It's it is not a is not for the faint of heart. Um, but it's a really helpful reframe of looking at our core feelings, and fear is one of our core feelings. That is an essential part of life, and to be alive on this planet um, is to be afraid in a lot of ways. There's all kinds of unknowns that's happening all the time, and when I start to look at it that way, then I can start to see the ways that I can use my fears in connecting with people. That this is we're all in this game of uh, hurtling around the sun on a spinning planet. That's all of us. So kind of acknowledging that can really help level set. um, just make it an ordinary thing, and make me able to use fears and anxieties as a tool to connect, as a way to engage meaningfully with others. All right, everybody, blessings. Thanks for joining in. I'll be back next week. Take care.